Good morning, mathematicians, and welcome again to Mrs. Achari's Kindergarten Cabin. Today we are going to be doing day 2 of our series of lessons this week in addition. So today we are going to be using our number bond that we made yesterday to explore and play with addition a little bit. If you did not watch yesterday's video, you will want to do that before you watch this one because you're going to need some things from your math toolbox, which is what video 1 had us doing, was making our math toolbox. So if you made a math toolbox and you're ready to go, you need to have that toolbox ready and we will get started. Okay, so let's go ahead and review what our standard is that we are working on. It is K.OA, and that says we will understand addition as putting together and adding to, and understand subtraction as taking apart and taking from. So that is what our standard is that we're working on. And this week, as I told you before, we are going to be focusing on addition. So we'll be getting into subtraction later. All right, so yesterday we made our math toolbox, and I'm just going to remind you what is inside of it. Inside our math toolbox, we have paper of any kind, pencils, markers, or crayons, a number bond, which we made together, an addition sentence, which we made together, and manipulatives or little objects to help us count. Today, what you are going to need from your toolbox is you are going to need a piece of paper. I chose my lined one because that's just what I felt like using today. You're also going to need your baggie with your pencils, markers, or crayons. Have that right here. You are also going to need your number bond template that you made, so you'll need to have this. And you're also going to want to have your addition sentence handy. Okay, so this is going to be used as a tool today to help us learn how to write an addition sentence, but so just have that ready just in case we need it. Okay, so I'm gonna take this away. Okay, so just to explain how it's going to look on my end, I'm going to be using the number bond that I have here on the board, and instead of the objects that I'm going to be, oh, I forgot, you're also going to need a baggie of objects. Sorry, I forgot. So instead of using a baggie of objects today, I'm using magnets because it's easier for me to show you on here while you're doing it on your own number bond, okay? So don't forget to take out something that you want to count with. If I was going to be using my mat today, I would take out my yellow Legos and use those. Okay, so go ahead and grab out whatever objects that you want to use too. All right, I'm gonna give you a minute so you can be all ready. And if you need to pause it to get ready, you can do that too. That's what's great about these YouTube videos. Okay, so today we're going to be exploring 3 numbers, and we're going to be looking at different ways to make these numbers. And the numbers we're going to be working on today are the numbers 2, 3, and 4. So this is basically what it's going to look like. We are first going to start with the number 2. And for each number, we are going to practice using the number bond to make that number in as many ways as we can. After we make the number, you are going to write the addition sentence on your paper. So you'll want to make sure you're writing kind of small so you can fit more than one thing on your paper, okay? So I'll be using my lined paper, and I think I'll use I'll go with my pink marker today. Feeling, look, pink addition sentence, pink marker. Sounds good for doing math. Okay, so what you'll want to do to start out is you'll want to have your baggie of objects in front of you. You'll want to have your number bond in front of you. And then you will also just want to have your pencil and paper handy as well. Okay, all right, so the first thing that we're going to start with is the number 2. I'm going to go ahead and write the number 2 right here in the top of my number bond. Okay, so that's the number that we're working towards making. Okay, so 2 is a pretty easy one because really there's only one way that there's actually 2 ways that we can make the number 2, okay? So we can start with put one object in the one circle and one object in the other circle. I'm gonna give you a minute to do that. So on your number bond, you can be doing exactly what I'm doing on here, okay? So I've put one object in this circle and one object in this circle, okay? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to write, on here I'm going to write the number for you, but you don't have to do that at home, okay? So there's one in here and one in here. The cool thing about the number bond is these lines are kind of like paths. They help show you where you need to take your objects to. So you're going to take your object along the path, and when we move those objects together, we had 1 and 1, and when we put them together, now we have 2. Okay, so as you can see, I moved my 2 parts, which were 1 and 1, and I put them together to make the number 2. So on your piece of paper, you can be writing a number sentence. 1 plus 1 equals 2. You want to try that? Okay, me too. Okay, I'm going to do it on my 1 plus 1 equals 2. And I wrote that on my paper like this. Okay. All right, so we have our number sentence written. We've played with the first way to make 2. Now we're going to make 2 in another way. Did you know there's another way to make 2? Okay, so let's go ahead and move our... So I want to give you a minute to think about it. We have our 2 objects and we have 2 circles. What is another way that we could possibly make the number 2? What 2 numbers could we add together to make the number 2? If there's someone around you, you could tell them. Okay, so if you were thinking that we can make the number 2 by putting 2 in one circle in our number bond and 0 in the other, you are absolutely correct. 2 can be made with 2 parts, and these 2 parts are 2 and 0. So 2 and 0 is 2. So we're going to take our little parts from here, walk them up the path, and there they are, going into the top whole number. That's the big number that we're making, okay? We don't have any that we need to bring from here, do we? Because there's nothing there. We decided to add 2 plus 0 to make 2. So let's go ahead and try that on our recording sheet. Now we have our piece of paper. Now we're going to use that to write another number sentence using this format. We're going to say 2 plus 0 equals 2. Okay? 2 plus 0 equals 2. 2 plus 0 equals 2. Okay, so this is just a little tidbit of information that I want to show you before we move on to the number 3. So as you can see here, we have 1 plus 1 equals 2, and we have 2 plus 0 equals 2. Did you know that we could write 2 plus 0 equals 2 in a different way? We can also write it in this way, 0 plus 2 equals 2. No matter how you write it, it still is the same, okay? And no matter what, anytime you have 0 of one thing and 2 of that thing and you put it together, you're always going to get the number 2. And your addition sentence can be written in both of these ways, okay? That's just a little fun fact. Okay. Shall we move on to the number 3 now? Okay, so let's go ahead and grab one more object. You'll be grabbing yours from your baggie. Mrs. Achari is going to use another magnet. So I'm going to erase my number 2 up here. So now we are working on making the number 3. Before we begin, I just want you to start thinking about it. What are some different ways that we can make the number 3? You might want to think about the different ways that we made the number 2 and let that help you. What are some different ways that we can make the number 3 using our number bond and addition? Okay, so you can pause it if you need a minute to think. and I'm just going to go ahead and keep on going, and so we can practice it with our objects. Okay, so first of all, I'm looking at my number sentences from the number 2, and I'm thinking that the first one we did, we had 1 in one part of the number bond, and then we had the rest in the other part. So just separate your objects just how Mrs. Achari has. You're going to put 2 in one circle and 1 in the other. Okay, so we have 3 objects total, and we just broke them apart and we made 2 parts out of them. We have a part that has 2 and a part that has 1. So if we take these objects and we walk them up the path to the number 3, we have If we join them together, we now have 3 objects. So we had 2 here and we had 1 here, and we moved them together, and now we have 3. So that tells us that 2 plus 1 equals 3. Go ahead and write that on your number sentence and then show somebody who's around you. You can also send me a picture later of this if you want, so you can show me the number sentences that you wrote. I'd love to see them. Two plus 1 equals 3. Right, so before we move on, I want you to think about what I told you before. How can we switch those numbers around? How can we switch the 2 and the 1 around to make a different number sentence? It would still equal 3, but how could we switch these numbers around to make a new number sentence? One plus 2 equals 3. 2 plus 1 equals 3. 1 plus 2 equals 3. So either way you write it, we know that if we have 2 and we have 1 and we put them together, it's going to equal 3. Okay, so let's try one other way to make the number 3. So if you look back at our number, when we were working with the number 2, we had a number sentence where we used the 0 in 1. So let's try that with the number 3. So let's make one part 0 and let's make the other part 3, and let's see what happens, okay? So we have 2 parts. We have 3 and we have 0. And if we move them together along the paths to the top and combine them, then we know that it's going to make 3. So let's go ahead and do that work. So put 3 in one circle and 0 in the other circle. And let's move them along. And then we have nothing to bring up from here because 0 equals nothing. 0 is nothing. So I'm going to bring nothing up here. So now I have 3 plus 0 equals 3. So I brought this part up and I brought this part up, and the total number is 3. 3 plus 0 equals 3. Go ahead and show me what that looks like in a number sentence. 3 plus 0 equals 3. Three plus 0 equals 3. Give you a minute. Okay, so now we have to do some thinking again. What is another way that we could write that same addition sentence? We can switch the 3 and the 0 around, right? So we can do it in a different way and we should still come out with the number 3. So you can even try that on your number bond. Last time we had 3 over here. This time you could put your 3 over here. So we have 0 plus 3 is 3. So if you move your along the path, and then there's 0 here to move up. So 0 plus 3 is 3. 0 plus 3 is 3. So if you take a look here, we have 0 plus 3 is 3, or 0 plus 3 equals 3. So it's 2 different ways that we can write that. Okay. Well, let's try one more number, shall we? Okay, we are now going to try the number 4. And you'll see that the higher you move up in the numbers and the greater the whole number, the big number is, the more ways you're going to have to make that number. So the greater the number, the more ways you're going to have, and the more number sentences that you're going to have to make that number. There's going to be just a lot of more variety in the ways that you can make that number. So now I'll be working with the number 4. So you should have 4 objects out of your baggie. I have my 4 magnets here. I'm going to line them up on the bottom. Okay, so let's start with 1 in one part and the rest over here. So let's put 1 here and 3, the rest of them are here, which is 3. So we can see that 3 plus 1 is 4. 3 plus 1 equals 4. So let's move them up. We put them all together in 1, and 3 plus 1 is 4. Okay, so let's go ahead and practice writing that number sentence. Three plus 1 equals 4. 3 plus 1 equals 4.